My Journal 5 article presentation is titled Participation and Interaction of Deaf and Hard of Hearing Students in Inclusion Classroom. The author is Khalid Al-Asim and is presented by Erica Anderson. Overview of the article and theory. The article provided a variety of strategies that facilitate participation and interaction of deaf and hard of hearing students in a general education classroom at a public elementary school. Data was collected through interviews and classroom observations to identify causes for limited participation of deaf and hard of hearing students. Findings of the study indicated that deaf and hard of hearing students face barriers that concern their participation and interaction in the general education classroom. Author's perspective. There are valid concerns with the participation and interaction of deaf and hard of hearing students. With this population of students increasing, there is a need to find solutions to the present problem. Watching a teacher and interpreter while trying to complete work at the same time presents a great challenge for students that are deaf or hard of hearing. The level of teacher and staff preparedness, along with attitudes toward deafness and inclusion, are all factors that play a major role in the academic success of these students. My reaction. The number of inclusion classrooms is on the rise in general. Students that are deaf and hard of hearing are running into many of the same problems as many other students with disabilities being placed into general education classroom settings. The lack of preparedness and training that the general education teachers have for educating students with disabilities and being able to meet their academic needs is a clear issue. I could see how the students having to multitask with doing work and watching the teacher and interpreter all at once could be a little bit overwhelming, and how, as educators and support staff, there are other options that could be made available to increase participation amongst these students. I thought that the article provided a great suggestion related to awareness and attitudes towards deafness among teachers and students, and how just simple communication can go a long way to address and correct many of the issues that are present for students that are deaf and hard of hearing. Implications to practice. Proper training for myself as an educator and support available to my students to meet their academic needs is an area that I could make sure that I'm properly prepared for, and working to get myself in a place to where I can have my students as a whole ready to understand and learn in the most appropriate ways. Preparing my class and students to understand differences in others in an effort to teach acceptance and understanding will go a long way for building that family community within the classroom and positive rapport between teachers and students. Communicating with support staff and an interpreter to find best practices to support my students that are deaf or hard of hearing will be extremely important. It will be a collaborative effort between student, parents, teachers, and staff to implement successful strategies to support learning. References. Participation and interaction of deaf and hard of hearing students in inclusion classroom. Detail available through Academic Journal by Khalid Al-Asim, International Journal of Special Education. Full text from the ERIC database.